Welcome to the third round of the rapid tournament I participated in recently. If you haven't watched yet my live analysis of the second game, very interesting one against a national master candidate, watch it in my channel. For now I play with the white pieces, so I chose to test my Tennison Gambit, knight f3 following with e4. Not e3, not g3, most common for the reti opening, but e4. e4 suggesting taking the pawn, free pawn for the black pieces with no defense whatsoever. This has caused him to think very early in the game. He took the pawn, very common response, and then knight g5. This is the whole point of the Tennison Gambit, to escape from this gifted pawn and then attack it from the front. But actually this is not the main point, not to attack it, but to put pressure on f7. Watch my guide on the Tennison Gambit if you haven't already. Very interesting and surprising opening that I haven't yet to test in real over the board tournament, but now I was able to do it, and I took the main line with knight c3 and not d3. Here you already see that he took the time. So he played the common move here, bishop f5, to protect the double attack with your knights, but then I played bishop c4, which is part of the plan, to actually put the pressure on f7. So the pressure on e4 is just a distraction for the pressure on f7. This is the whole point of the Tennison Gambit. Watch the video if you haven't already. So we thought here a bit. e6 to protect this f7 pawn from the double attack. And now I play the f3, which is the main line here, to make him exchange the pawns, and then I can put my queen in a good position to attack both the b7 pawn and increase the tension on f7. And then you can see it took a lot of time here. You can see the two players behind us, they are already in a well progressed middle game play, and we are just in the beginning phase. At this point I had a significant advantage in time. Unfortunately you can't see it because I couldn't put the camera because of the table. So after his long thought, he made a very good move, queen d4. I wasn't expecting that from a 1500s-ish player, but he did that, and I needed to find my response to that. That was out of my preparation, out of the main line. Actually, it has a very similar move I teach in my guide, but this comes after I take on f7, sacrifice my knight. However, this is not the case here. He did it before exchanging on f3, which required me to come with different approach. So now he is attempting to take my bishop first of all on c4, so I had to defend it, but also wanted to increase the pressure in the center on the e4 pawn and on the e file. Now I am the one who took the time to think, and it took me a while. So I made queen e2. So far so good, interesting position, even though it's different than I expected. Here it took some time to think again. I move it forward for a bit. So he took in f3 and I took back with my knight. This was the best choice I could make, otherwise I would lose my bishop that was hanging. And here he made some mistake. He moved to c5 instead of directly b6, which is what is recommended by engine, and also for human perspective is also the best move. But here I get the tempo with doing d4. He moved his queen to b6, and at this point I was hesitated what to do. It was not on my plan. It's a different kind of setup than I used to. However, I was still sure in my approach and made a castling short, and that was already not the best move, but I wanted to flee from the e-file, and my idea was to move to the side my king afterwards. So now he increased the pressure on d4. Now I have just one protection to d4 and he has already two. That caused me to think, but I can protect it with my bishop because then the b2 will be hanging. So, and now I also want to flee from my king from this dangerous diagonal. So I moved my king to h1 and then he immediately castled long, putting more pressure on d4. Very good move by Engine. He could have also taken the pawn, but he increased the tension. It was very good move. So he is in already better position according to Engines, but now I made a critical mistake moving the bishop to e3, kind of protecting the d4 pawn even though he had triple attack on it, but now I also abandoned the b2 pawn. Now if he takes it, my knight is hanging on c3 as this is indeed what he done. I was not feeling well on this point about the position. I didn't know what to do here. I should have played to b5, whether with my bishop or with the knight, to protect the d4 and to block his queen to take my b2 pawn, but I didn't do it. I missed that he can pressure on me with tempi on the c3, so I had to flee with it, and I moved to b5, at least to gain some attack on his king with a knight and try to lock his queen in the middle somehow. I thought about this a lot, and I think he was also preoccupied by that option. At this point I have some counterattack, even though he has 2.5 plus according to Stockfish. It's still a complicated position. But he grabs a pawn and it's very good move because now his material advantage becomes significant towards the ending game. If he can flee from this with his queen somehow, he's just going to win, obviously. So I wanted not to exchange queens, of course, because I wanted to keep the tension as much as possible, and I came back with a knight to d2. And then he made this move, bishop g4. He had better moves. It's also quite reasonable, so I just flee with the queen to f2. Disappointed from the position, but I still believe in myself. Right? This is important in chess. It's kind of complicated position, even though it's obvious that black is supposed to win here. But then he made this critical mistake, wanted to exchange queens. He was afraid of me trapping his queen, but this was the cost of being afraid from that. I realized I can very quickly. I have a double attack move, as you can see, exposing my rook to attacking his queen while I attempting to do a checkmate on c7 with support of the knight on b5. This is part of the reason I moved it to there. There is no way that black can save this position. If he tried to move away with his queen to d5, I will take it. If he tries to threaten my queen with his bishop on d6, I will take it with a knight with check and then take his queen. And I won the game. He missed that checkmate. He was a very good sportsman, so we laughed about that together. But yeah, I told him immediately that I was lucky that he missed that because he was better. But also it was a complicated game. This is what he told me, that he moved with his queen too much in the middle. And yeah, it was an interesting game, even though he was better in most of the time. I need to reanalyze this variation. But still, he provided me some tactical opportunities regardless of his advantage. And this is exactly my strategy in chess, to make messes on the board, even if I objectively worst. So, interesting game. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check my video tutorial about this opening, the Tennison Gambit, and hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.